Hi guys, how's it going? Well, wasn't that an interesting roller coaster ride over the last 24 hours? But at least it has restored some faith, I think, in the Conservative Party. Nah, I'm only joking, that one. What has been confirmed beyond any doubt whatsoever is that this front bench is the most corrupt ever witnessed in the annals of UK democracy and parliament hearings, okay? Let's not be under any illusion here. The reason this thing completely backfired on Johnson had nothing to do, or at least little to do, with the Tory rebels that, despite the whip being applied, chose to follow their conscience, which, let's face it, was also the reason the UK could not leave without a deal under the Benn Act. So let's go.
Good Lord, didn't anybody here subscribe?
Now, though I would love to believe that justice prevailed because of the actions of channels such as Max's or Phil's or Daily Blase, All Shorts, Big Madges, etc., or perhaps even this channel, but the real reason, which by the way should give you some little hope, is because the main opposition parties cooperated with each other. That's the reason. Let me explain. Johnson's proposal was to have a new body set up to investigate the investigation, if you can get your head around that one. This new body would have been weighted 6 Tories to 4 in favour of the opposition. But when Labour refused to take up their 3 seats and the SNP refused to take up their single seat, was heaped on top of the position taken by the Independent Commission on the Oversight Committee, Catherine Stone, who made it clear that she would not resign her position. The scam was blown apart before it even had the chance to pervert the course of justice. Now, I do not know if the stance taken by Labour and the SNP had anything to do with Catherine Stone's decision, but the net result was the new committee couldn't be formed and the rebel Conservatives were vindicated. And by the way, very importantly, were held up almost as heroes on the Conservative Home website that commented as follows, and it's important because this is the go-to place for Conservatives. The abstention figure will, as ever, be very hard to calculate, but that 18 Conservatives actually voted against the whip is significant. Their hopes are best read not as support for the Standards Committee proposed suspension of Owen Paterson or even for its verdict, but as opposition to the core of the amendment, which in effect proposed reviewing the entire standard system before reaching a decision on the Paterson case. Now, as Aaron Bell, one of the 13 mentioned on your screen here as you're looking at it, put it during the debate, this was, in his view, just them moving the goalposts while the game was still being played. Another 27 of them went for coffee and missed the vote, okay? Personally, I think, however, that Angela Rayner summed it up more accurately when she said it was one rule for the Conservatives and it was another rule for everyone else. But just before we all get a little bit exposed to the kumbaya here, I think we need to smack ourselves back into reality and remind ourselves of the extent to which this numpty brigade are willing to go to hide or camouflage the truth. Now, no sooner had the vote been carried and all of that sort of thing, but that the opposition, the whole thing fell apart and Paterson resigned. We heard from Kwasi Kwarteng, whose attempt to disguise the reality of what Bojo the Clown and his Conservative parties were trying to achieve was quite frankly pathetic. This numpty had the audacity to infer that the amendment tabled by Angela Leadsom on the very same day that the suspension was supposed to happen was coincidental. So let's take a look, shall we?
And I read the motion and I saw bits of the debate. It was all about the process. The vote was about getting a system of fairness back into almost what might be a kind of employment tribunal. I mean, my department looks after employment tribunal, looks after workers' rights, and throughout this country, people would have, any employee would have a right of appeal. This is something that Owen doesn't have, didn't have, and we're trying to get that back into the parliamentary process.
So, this numpty stands directly in front of the entire country, of the entire world, and expects us to believe that Andrea Leadsome's bill was introduced to level up the playing field and introduce an appeals process to see if an MP who's broke the rules are given a right to appeal. We're supposed to believe this was all coincidental. Okay? Now you see, this does sound as if it has some merit attached to its claim, some modicum of decency. The problem for Kwasi is that his argument is basically, it has obscured his thought process, because real facts are being obscured from forming a logical conclusion, because he is a lying knob end. And I really do mean that he is a liar and a knob end. Make that clear and take an action against me, Kwasi, and prove me wrong, okay? There's no chance of him being mistaken on this. And let me tell you why I'm sure what I am claiming is correct. This former Telegraph journalist, winning captain of the Open University Cambridge team, and by the way, to those of you who don't know what that is, I suggest you look it up on YouTube, as it is without doubt one of the toughest quizzes you'll ever see on TV. He won a scholarship to attend Eton. He later got a scholarship to attend university. Eventually he got another scholarship and achieved a PhD in economic history from Harvard. And again, I remind you all under scholarship. So he is no fool. But leaving it aside for now, he has as much legal advice around him as you could ever imagine. He also assumes total responsibility as Secretary of State for Business, for Energy and Industrial Strategy. Now, under UK employment law, a worker may be suspended during an investigation, or even prior to an investigation, if he's suspected of a gross breach of contract, i.e. perhaps receiving 500,000 to help your mates, especially as those mates have nothing to do with your job, okay? I've left a link in the description below, by the way, to the rules on this. And Paterson had already been investigated by an independent committee. They had found that he had acted in contravention of his duties as an MP, and they, as an independent committee, recommended that he should be suspended for 30 days. Not thrown out on his ear, not sacked, just suspended for 30 days. You and I would have been thrown out on our ear and probably go to jail if this had happened in any other field, be it professional or otherwise. He would have been kicked out on his backside. He would have been left with the option of appealing that decision to either the Labour Court or the High Court, both of which would have exposed in glaring public detail every single aspect of this sordid crap tale of corruption and malpractice. Kwasi knows this far more than the ordinary bloke on the street. But even on this BS, he wasn't finished. He went on even further with this sham when he admitted that it was his job to know about employment law.
So the government abides by independent process. A Tory MP is paid £500,000 by two companies to lobby on their behalf. He's found guilty because it's against the rules. He's suspended from Parliament for 30 days. The ruling Conservative Party, you guys, vote to change the rules. Why?
So it wasn't, it's not about the rights and wrongs of what Owen Paterson said or did or how he was paid. I think the process is something that we want to look at. The fact is he had no right of appeal, and we feel that in terms of Parliament, people should have a right of appeal, as they do in most employments throughout this country. So as far as I know, because I've been here all week, as you appreciate, as far as I know, and I've read the issue about the issue and been told about it, the vote yesterday was all about getting a proper process and getting some sort of right of appeal that MPs of all parties can rely on in a case like this. It's not about the rights and wrongs of what Owen did or didn't do. It's about trying to get. It's about trying to get. No, it isn't. It's about the Andrew. I mean, I read what Andrew Leadsome's amendment was about, and that was all about, setting up a committee and setting up a right of appeal process in a case like this. I don't think it was particularly related to what Owen said or did.
So guys, that about brings us to the end of this video. But if you stay tuned, we may be able to bring you another story on the Walt Disney scale of fantasy and imagination created by these numpties sooner than you may think. So thanks for watching. Keep yourself safe. Take care. Thanks again for the subscribe and the likes. Can't thank you enough for that. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.